And ultimately, the end goal of us was to develop an SDK, right? Like this final version, 1.0, should be really clean and performant in terms of the APIs, right? We wanted to make sure that the APIs were going to be really hard to misuse. So let's start. Episode 1, Kotlin, yes or no, right? As I mentioned, I work at Mapbox, and for those of you who don't know what we do at Mapbox, we are a data allocation platform for developers. So basically, we develop SDKs for clients to integrate the different location-related services into their apps. For instance, we have SDKs for iOS, desktop, Android, of course, and we develop services like mapping, geocoding, searching, and of course navigation. So this was a long time ago, 2017, and as a developers that we get excited, right, when we know or find out like a new language like Kotlin, right? So we wanted to jump ahead and start using Kotlin in our SDKs, and we were said no. We need to first of all think about what we are gonna be doing, and if that could be or could mean any impact to the business, right? So we were told, okay, for internal apps, we have a bunch of internal apps, and for any non-SDK related code, it's okay. You can use Kotlin. You can start experimenting and playing with this new language, but not for SDKs, right? Let's try to think about it more, and after that, we can make a decision. So what were the main concerns back in the days? First of all, the size, right? As you can imagine, back in the days, there were just a few companies and people developing their apps in Kotlin, right? So as soon as you integrate the standard library into your SDK, right, and they are gonna be getting like an extra oversize, right, because of how because of the size of the standard library itself. And it's like there are like a bunch of people, like for example, like if you want to have like a light APK in order to take advantage of some of the features that Google and Android are offering lately, is like, hey, I want to measure every kilobyte that you are adding, right? Especially in the case in which I'm not using Kotlin, right? So why are you adding this kind of size, right? Which I'm not gonna be benefiting from it at all, right? And another concern was that the number of methods that we were going to add as well, right? And as I said, especially in the case in which you are not using Kotlin, you are developing your app in Java, so you don't care about like the Kotlin standard library. And of course, we try to, as our developers, right, in order to convince the people who needed to make the decision, or basically the people who should be on board in order to start doing it. I went ahead, right, and I decided to, these people talk numbers, right? So we need to verify that what are those numbers? Are those really a concern or not, right? And that's why I ran this analysis, as you can see, back in 2017. And the idea was that I wanted to measure how much size and number of methods we were going to add if you basically develop like a library or an SDK in Kotlin, introducing the standard library, and then you integrate that library into an APK. So the idea was that let's get like final APKs without any drinker tool, right? So no progar. We wanted to have the raw numbers and then have something to show to the stakeholders and say, hey, what do you think about this? Is this really a concern or not? So as I'm saying, this is what we did, and this is what we found. So back in the days, this was Kotlin 1.1.3, if I remember correctly. And what we found was that the Kotlin standard library increased the APK size by around 380 kilobytes and added around 6,000 methods, which is, you can think about it, and it's not that much, right? And this is, of course, like an app developed in Java, right? And it's only considering the extra size that the Kotlin standard library is adding, right? And what did we get from management? Of course not. No. But we were stubborn, right? And we kept insisting, right? And so we thought, okay, let's try to describe or write down all the benefits that we will get and we will win as a developer, but also the benefits that the consumers of the SDK will get, right? And probably some of the benefits from a developer point of view, you already know them, because how many of you don't use Kotlin in his work? Only 1, 2? Well, cool. Then you are gonna be, learning how you can benefit from language from a developer point of view. Of course, it is intuitive, especially coming from Java. There's no practically any learning curve. It is statically typed, and it has type inference, which is really nice. It has an outstanding IDE support. This obviously coming from JetBrains, and also it has it was designed with this like mixed approach for functional and object-oriented, and this is really good, right? Because especially lately, we are realizing how we can benefit from functional programming paradigms and patterns. So it is good to have like some of these capabilities from the language itself. And when I say like these kind of capabilities are like first-class functions, immutability, no side effects, and of course like function types, seal classes, and so on. Of course, it is more expressive than Java, concise, and it is null safe, right? So we could say bye-bye to null pointer exceptions, but it's not really. But it is true that the number or the amount of null pointer exceptions that you can get rid of is pretty big, right? And especially on Android, I think it is the most common exception and issue or crash that you get. So if you have this, enforced by the compiler, it's really, really good, right? Because you don't need to think about like how you are going to be handling nullability. And yeah, there are like other goodies from the language that I'm not gonna go into detail right now. And on the other hand, okay, this is good. Like, stakeholders were saying, okay, yeah, I mean, this is good for you, the one that you are developing the SDK, but what the consumers of the SDK and the library are gonna get, right? And first of all, this is a language that is more strongly typed than Java, which means that we could ensure the correctness of our programs, right, at compile time, right? Which means that fewer bugs at runtime. We can also expose DSLs to make developers' life easier, right? A good example is Compose, right? And it's like something that you are happy when you are trying to integrate a library or a framework, right? Of course, it's a modern, powerful, and safe language, which will help, especially the need of having to rewrite all your code in the future, right? And as I mentioned, there are like some techniques, and in general, you get like fewer methods, which means that you are gonna be, ideally having like less weight, right? And of course, like less code, less bugs, right? That's a fact. And what do you think? What was the answer that we got? Nope. Nope again. So yeah, I mean, it was kind of frustrating, but we didn't give up, and we kept insisting. So December 2017, Realm announces its SDK in supporting Kotlin. And the good thing about this was that they were releasing this Kotlin extension library, which means that you have your core library or your core SDK in Java, and you develop this other library or extension library, which offers these benefits and goodies to like developers that are already using Kotlin, right? And we already we thought about that as well. We basically asked, hey, could we use this, right? It seems like a good approach. Actually, Realm developed like this Gradle plugin that basically detected if you were already including the standard library for Kotlin, and if you were also using Realm, the Kotlin extension library was automatically downloaded for you, which is really nice. But yeah, and also we found out this. I'm gonna go like fast forward to 2018 July, and we kept discussing during that time. But the good thing is that Pusher, like a company similar to us in the sense that they are in the open, they are developing SDKs for different platforms like Android, iOS, and web. They released like this report, the State of Kotlin 2018, and we found out that some good numbers. 30% of the people who answered the survey, they were using Kotlin for SDK and library development, which is a pretty big number, right, for 2018. And also we found out that another like interesting number was that these people, the 77% of the people were already using extension functions. It doesn't mean that they were developing like extension function libraries, but this feature will allow you to do that, right? So it's something that to take into account. So again, we expressed this to our managers, and what do you think? What was the answer? Nope. Again, but yeah, I mean, we kept insisting. August 2018, OKIO2, the Square, fast, and simple I/O library was, releasing a new version that supported Kotlin. And this is coming from Square, right? Which it is one of the companies that drives how Android development is doing. We were thinking, okay, this is our best bet. It is now, right? It's going to happen. And I was, as I was really involved into this discussion, I went ahead and I wanted to make sure that the numbers that they were showing were, what I thought that they were. So because in the post they were saying that the extra oversight that OKIO was adding to the the final APK was 7 kilobytes, and I was, ooh, that's really small, right? This is really good, and it seems that it is because of you are well. They were doing like a similar analysis as the one that we did, and they were using a shrinker tool. In this case, they were using Prower, right? And without Prower, they were getting like the extra footprint was going to be like around 1 megabyte, which is, not that big, but as I mentioned, right, there are some applications that we want to have like pretty light. So again, we try to use this, as a good like another reason to push toward starting using Kotlin for SDK development, and of course they told us no again. So we decided that, as I mentioned, we try to change a little bit the focus of the conversation. And as I mentioned, I'm working on the navigation Android SDK team. So we decided to basically, hey, let's try to convince that we are like a particular team, right, with specific reasons to have a yes, right, to go with Kotlin. And some of the reasons were like, of course, we are still in beta, right, as I mentioned. So it's like it is like a good opportunity to develop the SDK in Kotlin. It's more like it is a now or never situation, right? Because we didn't know when we were planning to have the 1.0, and we were thinking like maybe yes, we can do it in 2.0, and then it's like, no, this is if that's the answer, that's not going to happen, right? And again, we are a pretty young SDK. Especially if you compare like the rest of the SDKs at Mapbox. For example, like the Maps SDK is currently in the 8.x series. So our of course our user base is smaller, right, than the one of the Maps team, and when we ask that if our customers, we found out that they were already using Kotlin. So these concerns that I mentioned, the size and the methods number, wasn't going to impact that much to our clients, as you saw, right? So yeah, and let's face it, excitement, right? there are not that many Kotlin-first SDKs nowadays, right? And this is a good opportunity to gain traction, right? Especially like we were aiming to have the 1.0, right, release. So we could get that excitement in order to get more adoption, right, to the SDK. And I don't know if you have listened the fragmented podcast in which the COIL author actually explicitly said that they were seeing like a lot of traction, just because the library was written 100% in Kotlin, and because it was designed for Kotlin users. And you know, that's good. Even I remember that Chris Baines tweeted saying that he was going to replace all like Glide from his apps by COIL, right? Which, you know, means a lot coming from a Googler, right? So again, in parallel, this other discussion that started back in 2017 was continue going, right? And you know, but at this point, I think that it was, you know, like serious, right? And we decided that hey, this is taking too long. We should make a final decision, right? And we put everything that we had in the table, right? And we were going to compare the pros and the cons, and we basically needed to you know to put everything on the same page and get an agreement. So what we have as cons, of course, as I mentioned, the standard library adds some binary size to the final APKs. We also have like this, you know, minor issue with potential Kotlin versions incompatibility, especially if you rely on experimental features. And also, as you may know, it takes some extra effort to make the APIs Java friendly, because one thing that we wanted to make sure since the beginning was that we wanted to develop the SDK to be for both Java and Kotlin developers. So we needed to support both languages, even if we wanted to make it Kotlin first, right? And the pros, in addition to all of the reasons that I previously mentioned, the last Google I/O, Google's announced that it was going to be his preferred language for Android, which, you know, it's something like, you know, if you have the backup of Google, it's like your opinion is stronger, right? Normally. Productivity, as I mentioned, normally there are like a bunch of reports that normally you write like around 30% less code, which is, you know, really nice in terms of you are going to be writing less, you are going to have less bugs and issues. Also, new Java features adoptions is slow, especially on Android, and especially like given that Google mentioned that they prefer language was going to be Kotlin. And this one was, you know, key. Okay, HTTP version 4 is going to be integrating the Kotlin standard library, right? They are also doing the same. They are going to be implementing version 4 of OK HTTP Kotlin first. And at Mapbox, we relied heavily on OK HTTP. And they already mentioned that the version 3.12 it's under maintenance, right? And they are not going to be adding any any features to that, and they are going to be deprecating that one by the end of the year, which means that if you want to take advantage of the rest of the features that are going to be developed in HTTP4, you need to bump, and then you are going to have the dependency either way. So, and also concurrency, as you probably know, the threading model, all the coroutines and channels that Kotlin provides, it's something that you can benefit from. And hiring, this was also like a good point, right? At the end of the day, like we wanted to hire more people and grow the team. And it is not the first time that I've heard from someone like no, if they do Java, I'm not going even to apply, right? So from a long-term perspective, it's something that you also need to take a look at. So October 8th, 2019, we had to make a decision. And what do you think? What was the answer? Finally, yes, of course. Yeah, pros, bit cons, and finally we made the right decision. Also, that being said, as I mentioned, we also were having like this other conversation in parallel for the Navigation SDK, and we were like around like 2 weeks before committed to do the Kotlin first for the Navigation SDK. So now I'm gonna go over the second episode, which is the conversion. As I mentioned, first we wanted to migrate or port what we already had at that time into Kotlin, and this is what I'm gonna give some tips and what we found during that process. First of all, we needed to align on the coding guidelines, right? And we decided to use Kotlin, and I think that the only big discussion that we had was like if we were going to use 2 spaces versus 4 for indentation, especially because we came from an adapted Java code style from Square, which is as you may know is using like 2 spaces. But at the end of the day, we decided that now, I mean, like we are going to do like the whole migration. So let's stick with the Kotlin guidelines for now. And if anyone or we find that there is a rule that we need to change, let's change it as we go, right? And let's discuss that as a team later. So this is pretty straightforward. You can install Kotlin, and then you have like these 2 Gradle tasks that you can use for checking if the format is okay, and also to auto format, right? Another thing that we did initially was to annotate all the non-void methods and parameters, because as you may know, Kotlin uses this to enforce nullability, right? And you could run into like rabbit holes if you don't do that before doing the migration, right? And I found like this tool from the IDE really interesting, because this tool does that for you, and it works pretty well, right? You need to double check, but it works pretty well. So check it out if you are in this situation. And then, of course, we were going to do this to the whole code base, right? And what we decided was like, okay, let's do this, one step at a time, right? And only one class. Let's try to run all of the tests that we already have after converting the Java code into Kotlin using the tool as well, as you can see. And after that, let's try to also, if possible, like run like quick sanity tests manually from the test app that we have, and then let's try to create like a new test and then polish the code, right? Because sometimes the tool like generates code that you don't normally will do, right? So we also did that, right? And we polish the Kotlin code, and I'm gonna be showing you some of the examples that I'm talking about. Which, for example, this if null else error was going to be converted to something like this using the let and LBS operator. We replace switches by whens, and we also took a benefit from the lambda support and the default parameters. And also we also implemented like these utils files, or in order to, for example, in this case, to handle non-null situations, right? So, and we needed to pay special attention to, of course, double banks. That the tool generates, all over the place. I'm not saying that we need to get rid of every double bank, but at least you need to double check them, especially like if you are not sure, or if you don't have all the annotations in place. This is what the tool automatically asks you. And another thing that we needed to pay special attention was to late init and lazy, because this may cause null pointer exceptions. Already mentioned, we needed to pay special attention to non-annotated parameters, especially from third-party libraries. JVM static and get in tests throws methods because, as you may know, there's no checked exceptions in Kotlin. And also, we didn't want to end up writing Java in Kotlin, right? So we wanted to make sure that the code was Kotlin idiomatic. As I mentioned, as part of all these, steps that we were running, we also wanted to create like new tests for the classes that we didn't have test coverage, and we use mock-k, and especially for the ones that come or are familiar with Mockito. You are going to need to have this option enabled, the relax, which basically is like similar to the returns deep stubs. We also sometimes needed the relax unit fun, especially for the methods that were returning exceptions, and we wanted to have a void. And as I mentioned before, this is a framework which is Kotlin-first, and it is Kotlin idiomatic. It has a lambda support. It has blocks for verifying, spying, and etc. And we also needed, in a couple of situations, the mock-k object for mocking Kotlin objects, and also the mock-k static for extension functions. So finally, episode 3, we wanted to make sure that as I mentioned, the end goal was to develop an SDK that had like really good APIs that are really hard to misuse. So in order to do that, you need to take care or watch out that you don't expose Kotlin types, that you design great APIs that work for both Java and Kotlin. And to do so, we had examples in both languages. So we wanted to make sure that any changes on the APIs, how those were going to affect the usage. In order to do so as well, you need to master the JVM annotations. And of course, like your public APIs is going to be public, and you need to also take a look at the rest of the code, and ideally it's going to be internal, right? There are some limitations, especially if you have this modularized setup, but yeah, and I think that because you can only access the code when you use the internal modifier, you know, in the same module. Although I think that Gradle is the Gradle team is working on you know, a workaround to support this use case. And as I mentioned, this is an ongoing process that we are running. I'm running out of time, and I don't have you know, time to basically go over this. But we are modularizing the SDK. We are also adding like coroutines and channels. So this is maybe like a topic for a next talk. So to sum up and close the talk, these are like most of the takeaways that we had. First of all, el que la sigue la consigue. So keep insisting, don't give up until you get what you want. Second, baby steps, as I mentioned. We were running the conversion, for example, you know, one step at a time, only one class, and when we made sure that everything was working, we had every you know, new test added and so on. Then we could move to the next class. And test partners, the importance of having tests. I remember like some situations in which we you know, were saved by the test that we had. So it is always good to proper test your code. And watch out null checks, especially we run into some rabbit holes when we were using like this utility null like file, right? Especially because we were saying, okay, if it is null, don't do nothing. But we were actually relying on this null check, so we were getting like this unexpected behavior. So watch out, you know, for null checks, and try to also handling the error path. And finally, last but not least, designing good APIs is really hard. And as you can imagine, it requires like thinking about goals, about outcomes. It requires prototyping and a bunch of testing. And of course, a bunch of iterations until you are good with the APIs and your consumers and clients are also happy with it. And I want to thank my team, because this is a team effort, and of course you for listening. Thank you. I don't know if we have time for questions.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Hi. Hi. First of all, nice presentation. I understand your pain. I had a question about, for instance, you were using Java 8, or you're still stuck on Java 7 before?
Yeah, 7.
Okay.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you know, you only have a couple of features supported, right, in Java 8. So it's like you only get like Lambda support, and also you need to bump the main SDK version, right?
Yes, yes. But my question was about, because there is a new argument that if you're using Java 7, the OK HTTP that you mentioned in retrofit, all those libraries, the latest versions, only work on Java 8. So you could make the push to go to Java 8 and then to Kotlin because of that. Because all the libraries, if you want to have the latest ones, you really need to target.
What version are you talking about? Because I think that
I know that retrofit, I think the last version that supports Java 7 only, it's like 3.3 or 3.4.
Yeah.
For the past 2 years, all the releases that have been made, you need to have Java 8.
Correct.
You have to support Java 8.
Yeah.
For instance, that was one of the arguments that I did to move to Kotlin. Was, okay, we're going to update it to Java 8 just because of that.
Yeah.
It's better if you go full, and we can move it to Kotlin.
Yeah, that's right. I think that we supported Java 8 in the navigation SDK, and at some point the Maps SDK that we relied on was also forcing you to support Java 8, because they also included in their SDK, but then they put it back, right? Because at the end of the day, what I was going to say is that they don't rely on retrofit. They only relied on OK HTTP, and I'm not sure if the OK HTTP library is the one that is forcing you to do that. I think it is only the retrofit.
OKIO as it's forcing also, I think.
Oh, really? Yeah,
but I'm not
that's
100% sure, but I think I'm not sure if it's like the past 3 months. I know that on the last weeks I noticed that.
Yeah, I think it is the version that I mentioned, right? Like the 3.12. They put that in under maintenance, right? And they are gonna be deprecating that one by the end of the year. So that was, like a dealer deal breaker, right? For the discussion, because normally when you develop an SDK or an app, you are gonna be relying on this kind of HTTP clients, right, and frameworks. So and we do that right now at Mapbox. So it was like, okay, it's a matter of time, and even if you think about it, it's like the same thing happened with the support and like the app compat library. At the beginning, everything like everyone was no, this is gonna be adding like extra number of methods, extra size. But then with the time, basically it is common, right? Like every SDK includes the support library nowadays, right? So, and it is not a problem, right? It's just a matter of time. until people realize that it's not that an issue, right? But
management, it's always tough.
yeah, it's always right. You need to convince them with really strong arguments and show them numbers and until they realize that there is no a huge risk, right, in order to do these kind of things. But initially, back in 2017, they were okay. You just knew about this new cool language, and then you want to start using it right away. And we were like, okay, it's not like that. But it's it seems that right now Kotlin is happening, right? And what we wanted to avoid, as a developers, were we didn't want to miss the train, right? So.